Добрий день, я
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to see everybody joining us in Ukraine Media Center Ukraine Forum. My name is Olga Atamanova. Today is day 607 of the full-scale invasion of our homeland by Russian aggressor, and I traditionally want to thank the representatives of all the mass media who tell the world the truth about our heroic fight for freedom. Today there was a number of organizational things I would like to ask you, due to security reasons, not to broadcast this event live and to post your materials in about 1 hour after we wrap up. Thank you very much for your understanding. I would like to start our conversation with thanking our European delegation, the Subcommittee of European Parliament on Human Rights, for visiting us. Thank you for your support. We want to thank you. Ukraine Media Center Ukraine Forum traditionally provides the information support to all of our international partners. I want to introduce our speaker today. It's Udo Bullmann, the head of the delegation, and we will be talking about the way the European Union helps Ukraine to bring Russian war criminals to liability. Let's talk about this utmostly important topic, probably one of the most important things for our Ukrainian society now. So please, Mr. Bullmann, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody, and thank you very much for the interest in our work and in our visit here in the Ukraine. Thank you very much for the friendly introductory remarks. We have been, and that is the final stage now, on a mission from Brussels, European Parliament, to the Ukraine. We, that is the Subcommittee of Human Rights. Let me mention my colleagues. There is Deirdre Clune, the European People's Party from Ireland. There is Isabel Wisner-Lima, Luxembourg, European People's Party. Isabel Santos, Socialists and Democrats, Portugal. Viola von Kramon, Green Party, Germany. Karol Karski, Poland, European Conservatives and Reformer, myself, the chair of the Subcommittee of Human Rights, Udo Bullmann from Germany, SD as well. We planned to come earlier. Why did we not come before the summer break? Because our committee, our colleagues insisted on the idea that we do not only go to Kiev. We do not only talk to officials. No, we wanted to go also on a field trip. We wanted to see victims. We wanted to see witnesses of the atrocities of the Russian aggression. And we needed to wait, bureaucratic ongoings until we had the permission for security reasons to go there. We are very grateful that it was possible. Also, thanks to the EU delegation, thanks to the Office of the General Prosecutor, who enabled us to go to Chernihiv region yesterday. We saw victims, we saw witnesses, we saw the cellar of torture. We saw those people who suffered directly and could report back to us. We have spoken to local activists, local authorities who are doing their very best to help, to support, to reorganize peaceful life, and we are grateful for this experience. It saddened us. Our heart is full of sorrow, of sadness, of grief, which we share with your local people, with you as a nation. We had the chance today to speak to our fellow colleagues of the committees of the Rada, with which we are in an ongoing communication because we are partnering from the Human Rights Committee also with the respective committees here in the Ukraine Parliament. We know our colleagues vis-à-vis, and we continue this very important dialogue. We had the chance to speak to the Prosecutor General of the Ukraine, and were discussing all these difficult questions, where to move and how to develop and what kinds of mechanism to use to bring justice back to your nation. And we had also a very moving meeting with Meeting Safe Ukraine's founder, Kuleba, and with one of his projects. And we had the chance to talk to young people, to children, about their experiences. And we saw hope. We saw all that sadness, but we saw also the courage, the strength, and the hope in the eyes of those who suffered so much. And let me personally, as well as on behalf of my colleagues, bring you the main line of our resume, of our journey. We know the European dream is reborn. We know the European dream is alive, and it lives here in the Ukraine. And this is the message that we can bring back to the European institutions, to the policymakers, of course, who have to manage a lot of difficulties on a pragmatic path forward. But what we saw also is that Putin's war of the aggression brought both of us, the European Union as well as the Ukraine, in a transformational dynamics of which there is no way back. We are united in our destiny to organize our common future. That is the main point. We knew theoretically, but we could study practically what it means. This is our dedication. This is what we have to work on. And now a couple of points on a very pragmatic agenda. Yes, we will give also further full support to all your efforts to win this war. This is, goes without saying, and it has to be underlined and underscored, especially in these days. The European Parliament, just before we came, has adopted its position on the Ukraine facility. 50 billion have to be launched very soon to support the Ukraine in the next years. We know that this is not the amount that is reasonable to feed in all the necessities ahead of you, but it is something that was promised, and now the European Parliament has done its homework. The ball is in the field of the Council. The Council has to react, and we hope that negotiations can be finalized very, very soon. We have to concentrate on the most important issues, that is the full cycle of justice. On an individual scale, that means we need to support those who do the documentary work. We need to safeguard accountability, and we need also to bring in redress to victims as good as it is possible, of course, with all the national capacities at the command of the Ukraine, but also with the European and the international support that is necessary for that. And we have to say, yes, also the frozen Russian assets have to be used for these purposes. We know that within our nations, within our member states of the European Union, there is huge support for that. And leaders of the European Union have to safeguard that we find solutions to that very rapidly in line with international law. What we will concentrate on, because that is decisive as well, is on the high number of forcibly deported children and civilians, prisoners of war, of which we heard that the Ukrainian officials and NGOs are trying their very best to come closer to solutions. That is an incredible scandal. And we have also to talk to international NGOs and to the international community and family, as well as to the European Union, to find ways to speed up in the solution of this very question. We cannot take a blind eye, and we do not accept that actors of the international NGO agenda take blind eye or are in a situation not to fully comply with what is expected here. That is an issue of major concern, as well as the rapid redress that has to be organized for those who had to flee internally in the Ukraine, in your country. We know, to sum it up and to finalize, that it is absolutely necessary to organize also the next step of our collaboration. Accession talks have to start, and we have to deliver from both sides the necessary preconditions that we hopefully can be working in a common framework very, very soon. Let me end with the point that justice is necessary to be brought about for each and every individual, but that justice and the rule of law, the fight for our common perspective, the fight against corruption and illegal activities in the Ukraine and elsewhere is the very foundation of our European fundament. Human rights is core, and we as the Subcommittee for Human Rights stand ready for any further collaboration and for any further support which is needed. Thank you very much.
Дякую, пане Удо. Шановні колеги, хочу
Thank you very much, Mr. Udo. Dear colleagues, the floor is yours. Please ask your questions.
Bullmann, Ukraine Forum, Ivan Kosakin. I want to ask you about the fact that it's unfortunately not only a Putin's war. We need to deliver justice and hold accountable many soldiers, many officers and officials. And I want to ask you about what mechanism does your committee support? Okay, we have the international tribunal, special tribunal for the top level officials, but what about service militants that made military crimes, war crimes against Ukraine? Should the justice be delivered through Ukrainian national courts, or should it be the international criminal courts? What's your take on that? Thank you.
Your question is extremely justified. We know that we are talking about more than 100,000 cases of crimes against humanity. So it's totally clear. We know, of course, that the judicial system of one nation is totally overburdened by the huge work ahead of you. On the other hand, the European Union, and that is us, has to do everything to strengthen and to support your domestic resources, because also according to the legal situation in the Ukraine, it is the ownership of the Ukraine to take action, judicial action here, and that cannot and should not be overruled. Having said that, this is not an excuse not to offer all the capacities, especially of those European member states where we have a chance for a universal prosecution. So that is some 18 states where this is already possible, and they should not hide. European Parliament supports the idea, and that is work in progress, as we heard from the Prosecutor General also, that we motivate the authorities and the judicial system of all those member states. They have already the legitimacy to doing that, to do their job and to go after the respective files that are concluded here in the investigations. We also would like to motivate those states in the European Union where there are still restrictions to doing that, to alter their practices so that it's a general rule, a general idea of the European Union to make this possible also in those member states where you do not have the chance so far. The very question behind that is still what kind of mechanism, and you raised that. Our position is, first of all, the goal is full justice. to realize the full cycle of justice in the best interest of the victims. And the rest is a technical question we have to live up to. So, of course, we understand that some member states are advocating for hybrid mechanisms. On the other hand, we are sure that there is a lot of capacity already in the Ukraine with the support of the ICC, for instance, to go after the middle range cases, let me call it like that, and that there is a need for a tribunal to argue with those who are really guilty. And that is the position that was issued already by European parliamentarians, but has and should be adopted also by the European leaders.
Друзі, якщо маєте ще питання.
Dear friends, should you have any questions on the floor, please let me know. Meanwhile, I'm having a question, Mr. Udo. You've mentioned that one of the biggest pains, is the civil hostages and the illegally deported Ukrainian children. We know that they are being detained by Russian Federation in large numbers. Is the European Union ready to become a third party in negotiations to set them free? We know that some of such cases have already worked. So can we have the European Union involved in this process, which is of utmost importance to us? Thank you.
I mentioned that already because this is, of course, a great urgency to be active here. Where you need support and where you need also the help of international institutions and international players. We had discussions about how to safeguard in this cynical situation where young people, where children have been taken away out of their families, out of their environments and brought to Russia, that we need to also certify with DNA proof that the real families have a chance to come together, even if time goes by, even if we cannot do it everything tomorrow. So we have to organize proof of the given situation. We have to attack the brainwash mechanisms of the Russian Federation, because it was disgusting to hearing from kids and youngsters in which way they were treated and abused. And we need also to motivate not only our member states, that is the issue of sanctions. Here, sanctions are totally justified and has to be reviewed, the system, whether we already target the right ones and tough enough the right ones. But we need also to have a discussion on diplomatic sources of who can perhaps intermediate, who can help in this collaboration. But also, let me be diplomatic, because I express here the broad feeling of our delegation that those players internationally who are normally very useful, who normally have a huge reputation, you normally profit also from European taxpayers, have to do their proper job, because we are not accepting positions of I call it taking a blind eye on what is going on.
Друзі, чи маєте питання?
Dear friends, do you have any questions on the floor? I am seeing that we don't have any questions anymore. We want to thank you for this conversation. We want to thank you for your systemic support provided by European Union to our people. Thank you very much, and we continue working together for our victory. Thank you, and see you.
Hospitality, for your interest, and we promise to come back.
Дякую.
Yeah,